Welcome back again, ladies and gentlemen. We are here on the starting grid for the final race of the Saturday's program of the opening round of the 2024 ESETCup series. It is the longest one. It's the endurance race of the mixed GT classes. So a lot of beautiful, a lot of powerful, and a lot of loud, wonderful machines behind my back taking place on the starting grid. And it is pairings on the front row, so crews that will make driver swaps during the mandatory pit stop that form the front row of the grid. On pole position, the Polish pairing, it's Martin Kaczmarski, who is going to hand over to Mateusz Lisowski in the pit stop. And we talked to the man at the start of the sprint race. So hi Martin. So far we are sensing a trend. We've had an interview together earlier on in the sprint race. Now you are here on the front row of the grid once again, and you are going to be sharing the car in the endurance race. So how is it going to be for you?
I am so happy. I have a question to you. Oh. Did you get a lot of followers because of the interview from my camera?
Where's your camera, by the way?
Disappeared. Or maybe someone.
Oh, you need to find it. This is an interview of questions. We've got more questions than answers. Yeah. Well, let's see. How are you looking forward to the race?
The plan is to push, but I need to take care about the car because there is gonna be second driver who gonna jump in after 45 minutes, I think, yeah. And I need to take care about the tires and just having fun. Like I told you, the weather is the most important for me, and this is beautiful today.
Fantastic, so enjoy it. Let's make our way to the other side of the front row. It's a little bit different for the races where you're standing, or basically starting with the rolling start. Let's see if we can get a couple of words. It is Maťo Homola. Very quickly, if we may. Maťo, you basically won the race in the Eastern European TCR earlier on. There was a penalty that changed the results, and now you are on the front row for the endurance race, completely different machine. You were even pushed to the other side of the grid, maybe used to too much for the standing start positions, but what is your view before the race?
Yeah, for sure, it's very nice to be here to do the endurance races, and yeah, I enjoy it, and hopefully it will be nice.
Sorry to disturb you. Have fun. So, on the second row, as you see, on the inside, which is basically the third position, of course, for the endurance race, for the rolling start, the position of the lines is actually reversed. That means the third place is on the inside. That's Stoffe Rossina in the Trevor Racing prepared M6 GT3, and alongside Michanek Motorsport Lamborghini that is going to be shared by Jakub Knoll and Josef Záruba in today's race. Let's go and watch that. Let's enjoy it. We are opening the 2023 season here in Germany. First of the 6 calendar events that are ready for us this year.
Oh, there's contact between Joachim Gallage and Libor Milotan.
There is the race leader, Filip Salaguarda. They are now going to be side by side across the line, but Gallage is prevailing. Joachim Gallage scores another victory. His teammate does a slight touch in the first corner. What a move that was. And he's third, and there's a contact. Luckily, everybody else has managed to avoid that car. This is going to be a photo finish between the two Lambos. Who's first? It must be Denis Vashek. Unbelievable! This is a big crash, massive crash. I don't know, it feels like towards the end of the day they're making the walks from the grid longer and longer. Or I don't know what that is. Yeah, last one. But for many, the most exciting one, it's the endurance race. 1 hour long with driver swap. Not for everyone, of course. Some of the drivers deciding to do both stints in the car. And rolling start one last time on Saturday, to top off the opening day of the 2024 ESETCup series here at the brand new BalatonPark. The safety car leading us off, and we've got Martin Kaczmarski on pole. Alongside him it is Maťo Homola, who is going to be handing over to Viktor Mraz. Stoffe Rosina third. Behind him it's Jakub Knoll in the car. Josef Zaruba will take over at the pit stop. Adam Konopka and Miro Konopka, son and dad, sharing the third row of the grid. Hubert Darmetko in seventh, and then pairing of Andrej Lah and Matej Kosic in eighth. Then Petr Brecka together with Karel Neth sharing the brand new Porsche 992 together in P9. And to top off the top 10, it is the pairing of Kokola and Chepiel in Yannick Motorsport colours. So we are ready on the start and finish straight, and the red light was still on when Kaczmarski decided to start, so we had to back off quite significantly. Big mistake by Kaczmarski at the start, and that means that he was basically braking at the time when the race was actually started, when everyone started to accelerate, which means that Kaczmarski has lost 2 places, and it is Stoffe Rosina. Stoffe Rosina on the back of his thrilling experience driving the Renault Twingo. He's now back at the wheel of the M6 Beamer and leading the race here in Hungary. Behind him it is Maťo Homola, so this is going to be an interesting battle. Kaczmarski needs to fight back after that mistake at the start. He already wanted to go, but the light was still red, which he noticed at the last second. Slight mistake from Rosina in turn 5 as he was quite wide. Kaczmarski already attacking Maťo Homola. We had to abort the interview, got it a little bit short as we were nearing the start of the formation lap. It seems that Maťo Homola is definitely not disturbed by that, and he is properly on it. He was also caught out a tiny little bit by Stoffe Rosina, who performed a fantastic start but made up 1 place behind Kaczmarski. You see the Lichanen Motorsport Lamborghini currently driven by Jakub Knoll. There he goes in the Lambo in the GTC class. He's the GTC class leader. So Stoffe Rosina leading us in the M6 BMW, the previous generation of the factory BMW. So the newer M4 car here, and one of the Porsches already in the trouble on the... Ooh, and there's a big crash actually. Oh, that's not good to see. there's a crash in corner number 1, and that's Yannick Motorsport's GTX KTM with quite a lot of damage to the front end. The team boss Václav Janík definitely not liking to see that. Car number 440 in trouble as well, which is Radek Kolařík. Radek Kolařík, and there's one of the other Porsches in trouble. Smoke pouring from underneath the wheel arch of the rear left wheel. So yellow flags are out, and we may even get a safety car if the KTM remains stationary in the first corner, which it still does. And that was the crash with the Porsche. Yeah, that KTM does not seem to be going anywhere. That's bad luck. So far the day has been going pretty well for Yannick Motorsport team. Definitely not the end they hope for, and I do believe we'll get the safety car. It's not out yet, which means that all the drivers are now coming into the first corner at full speed. Of course, there's yellow flags being waved, but the KTM is standing. Well, there's double yellows, of course, have to be, and luckily the car is sort of on the outside, so everyone should be able to avoid the stationary machine. But let's just hope that everyone pays attention. SC board's out a little too late, I need to say, so the safety car will come out. No further issues so far for the KTM. Everyone's safely through, so we have got the safety car at the very start of the race. Taycan already awaiting the entire pack. The race is neutralized. Rosina in the lead from Homola and Kaczmarski. But what happened? There was a crash with, it was Bob Bau in his colourful Porsche making contact with the KTM. We only saw the end of that incident. We're not sure if, for example, well, the KTM shut the door on the Porsche and the contact resulted out of that, or if Bob Bau was overly optimistic. We didn't really see the initial phase of the problem, and that's why we can only guess. There seems to be, well, there's definitely bodywork damage. Yeah, track marshals sort of trying to hand gesture communication. Is the car finished? Can you be towed by our truck? Or do we have to wait for heavier machinery? Because if the suspension's broken, then it's probably not the smartest move to actually try and drag the car. It could cause even more damage. It's a carbon fiber tub on the KTM, and there is one of the Porsches in trouble. That was actually Radek Kolařík, the Porsche number 440, standing on the outside of turn 5, I believe. There it is. So a lot of drama, unnecessary drama at the start of the endurance race, which is an hour long. No need for anyone to go crazy too soon, but that's what actually sometimes happens. After all, they're all racing drivers. They want to race, they want to fight, they want to overtake each other. And this simply happens from time to time. 1:36.8, so far the fastest lap. Of course, we can't really take that too seriously. It was Matej Homola who set that lap time on the opening lap of the race. Tiny little faster than Stoffi Rosina, who was coming from further back. Tiny little further, actually. Let's see that once again. That was, if there was only that first hit, then there was a secondary hit as well that did a lot more damage to the bodywork of that KTM and did also damage to the Porsche of Bob Bau. That secondary hit was probably the worst one. And the flatbeds at the scene of the accident We're going to have to lift the car up. Seriously, not to damage it anymore, any further. And that is going to keep us neutralized for quite some time, unfortunately. So, not the development that we were hoping for. Either way, we've actually got quite interesting names, honestly, in the field, because among us are some of the previous champions. Well, the last year's one, Filip Salaquarda, not with us anymore. And I don't mean that things happened to him. What happened to him was that he just went on racing on the international scene. Together with Libor Milota, they're sharing the R8 Audi. Libor Milota, the previous champion, actually, but for the ESETCup as a whole, not really endurance racing champion. Before that, in 2021, it was Marcin Jedlinski taking the overall victory. Before that, it was Daniel Skalicki in 2020. That was the COVID-shortened season. Formed only by 4 rounds back then, starting in Croatia in Grobnik. Richard Chlad Jr. taking victory in 2019. Marcin Jedlinski again in 2018, and then 2017, certain Jakub Knoll, whom we have on the grid, back with us in the Mechanik Motorsport Lamborghini, currently in P4, is going to hand over at the pit stop to Josef Zaruba. Miro Konopka also on the grid. This year he won the championship back in 2016, and further before that, twice in 2014 and 13, to become the first ever ESETCup Series champion. And if you're very careful, then you will have noticed that I've skipped the year 2015, but not forgotten. And that's the year where we crowned the champion from Slovakia, Stoffel Rosina, again with us today at the wheel of the leading BMW M6 GT3 in the colors of Trevor Racing. So, we have got the Porsche number 440 of Radek Kolarczyk back in the pits, in the hands of the team. KTM, the crashed KTM, currently being lifted up in the first corner. So hopefully the incident will be dealt with pretty soon. Motorsport car is out. I actually believe it was Petr Kokola at the wheel. But again, we did not see the initial phase of the entire situation, so not really able to judge who was at fault, if anyone. But it was him and Bob Bau at the scene of the incident, crashing into one another, with more than one hit, and the secondary one damaging the cars even further still. Well, so the car will be towed away, and hopefully within maximum 2 laps, we can be racing again with Stoffel Rosina leading overall and in the GT3 class in his M6 BMW. Mathieu Homola in the GTX KTM, currently the only GTX left on the track, leading the GTX class, of course. 3rd place overall, 2nd place in the GT3. That is currently Martin Kaczmarski. Jakub Knoll with the Mechanic Motorsport Lambo. And then there's the Lambo of Adam Konopka with no bonnet. With no bonnet. And I saw the car in the pits because Adam actually unfortunately spun out of the sprint race earlier, ended up in the gravel. So walked past the team's garage in between the races, and both Adam and Miro were examining the extent of the damage and trying to get all of the stones that got stuck in the car. And what a job it is to shake them out, even out of the splitter and everything. The stones just go everywhere, and you just hear them rattling, so you have to get them out. So they were doing that, but I don't remember the car starting with no bonnet. Something must have happened, or did it actually start with no bonnet? Not really sure about that, but of course that's for later. What is for now is the race restart. Stoffel Rosina bringing us back onto the start and finish straight after the first quarter of the race. Stoffel Rosina leading under green flags here in Hungary from Mathieu Homola. Martin Kaczmarski in 3rd. Jakub Knoll. Ooh, and there's problem for Adam Konopka, who spins in the first corner and drops down the order. Let's just hope that nobody collects him. That would be another unnecessary incident in the first corner. Adam Konopka crawling slowly. That was, I believe, Boris Kalman in the Silver Sting machine. Iconic and typical, I would say iconic car that we keep seeing in the ESETCup series. Still amazingly being raced. It's already one of the older models on the grid, but actually so is the M6 BMW. It was already replaced with the M4 for the past 2 seasons. But now in the hands of Stoffel Rosina, leading the way here. There we go, across the line again. Mathieu Homola coming closer and closer to the leading BMW with a Mercedes in rears. Carefully through the left-hander at the end of the first sector. And Mathieu Homola reeling Stoffel Rosina in. Shades of the flags. And now hard braking into the 5th corner, where Stoffel Rosina made a mistake earlier on, but still held on to the race lead. It's Trevor Racing versus Karin Motorsport. chicane we brake. Ooh. Rosina missing the second part of it a little bit and cutting through. Now back towards the start and finish line. Now we are a little further back in the field. So that's the car number 97, shared by Andrej Lah and Matej Kosic. The Lemma Racing's Lamborghini. Behind them, the brand new Porsche 911. Second in the GTC1 class, shared by Petr Brecka and Karel Neff. Franz Lama behind them in 9th, and Antal Gigot being the leading M4 BMW. In 2nd among the GT4s is the Schenki's Motorsport M4. Actually entered as Aris Racing car, the car number 444, shared by Rudolf Benio and Richard Gonda this weekend. In the meantime, Adam Konopka back in the race, and he's making his way through. There he goes. The car with no bonnet on. Continuing and now fighting through the GT4 field. Those are the Lemma Racing Mercedes cars. One of them being shared also by Mihailo Mladenovic, who's coming into the GT world from Renault Twingo. So a big step. A step that is performed by many of the experienced drivers that actually went the other way around this weekend to try the Twingo. So we've had, for example, Josef Záruba, Denis Vašek, Stoffi Rosina trying their hand in the Twingo Cup. Miro Konopka, P6 currently, and he's trying to fight Hubert Darmetko. They're both different classes, but enjoying a beautiful fight with one another on the track for 5th place overall. At the same time, Trevor Racing's BMW still leading at 136.1 for Stoffi Rosina on the previous lap. Matej Homola 136 dead, and that is the new fastest lap of the race, 136 exactly, by the reigning Eastern European TCR champion, actually scoring a victory a little earlier on. He was second on the road, but Attila Bucci was penalized after the race, 10-second penalty, and Matej Homola was then promoted to the race victory afterwards. Kaczmarski 3rd, Knoll 4th. That's the GT4 fight. This is Rudo Benio following Antal Gigot in his GT4 M4, and behind the Lemma Racing Mercedes cars. So this is a wonderful scrap for the GT4 lead among all of the 4 of the GT4 cars. So it's Gigot from Benio, from the pairing of Andrej Makarovic and Szabolcs Lantos, and they are making the move. And through the Mercedes goes. And then a little further back, it's the pairing of Kastelic and Mladenovic in the other Lemma Racing's Mercedes. Hard on the brakes. Rolf Benio will try to come back. And there's a fight back there, but you're trying it around the outside. Didn't really happen, but was a nice attempt. And back onto the start and finish we go. Stofirosina still only 0.6 of a second ahead of Matěj Homola in the race lead. Kaczmarski dropping a little further back. He's going to hand over to Mateusz Lisowski in the pits, and the pit window about to open in about 1.5 minutes. So from let's say the 25th to the 35th minute, it will be open. This is the race leader cutting the chicane slightly again, choosing a little more of a Twingo-ish line through the chicane. And there they are, the race leaders. Wow, sticking to the inside. This is going to hand a way better exit to Matěj Homola, but this is not a usual overtaking spot, although we've seen a couple of attempts over the weekend so far, some of them even successful. Now along the back straight, behind the main grandstand, into turn 5. This is the fight for P4 actually. Knoll in 4th from Miro Konopka, who's already dealt with Hubert Darmetko and has moved to 5th. This is the GT4 fight that we've been watching earlier on. How about Adam Konopka? He's made his way up to 7th already, having overtaken the Porsche shared by Petr Brecka and Karel Neff. And hard on the brakes goes Miro Konopka. What a move! He did still manage to actually fit it in the chicane from quite some distance. Jakub Knoll then closing the door on Darmetko. But what a move by Miro Konopka. Making a short and light work of that. And into the chicane we go. The pit lane is currently open. And this is the fight for the lead. Stofirosina still having his rear view mirrors full of that KTM. Matěj Homola enjoying himself behind the steering wheel of that prototype. That's actually not exactly a prototype, but from track day cars to proper races. That's how the KTM has gone. Through the chicane we go. Back to the GT4 fight for a moment. Still the Aries Racing M4 BMW staying 3rd in that fight. And this is actually fight for the GT4 lead. Antal Gigot under pressure from Lemma Racing, and there's an attempt into the first corner, but Antal Gigot has closed the door right down. That was a very aggressive defense move. I don't think that Lemma Racing will be entirely happy with that. That was a very, very aggressive move from Antal Gigot. But now, whether it is Makarovic or Lantos, going to try to have another go. Down the inside. Gigot immediately covering it. Oh, and very slow through the apex. Just to fend off any further pressure through the quick right-hander. This fight is really raging on, and in the meantime, the leaders only having 0.3 of a second between one another, and we had the PTT Racing's Mercedes in the pits. Oh, big problem for Gigot, who very nearly lost it, and that is promoting Rudo Benio into second, side by side. All of the GT4 cars together in one shot halfway through the race. Fantastic fight for the GT4 lead, and it is still Gigot from Trevor Racing leading, somehow managing to stay ahead. By the way, we had also the Michanek Motorsports Lambo in the pits, so it is now Pepa Zaruba behind the wheel, and the second Lemma Racing's Merck now jumping to third, and Rudo Benio coming into the pits to hand over to Risho Gonda. Now the Lemma Racing's Mercedes side by side. They're swapping places. The other one is going to have a go. But Gigot really defending very hard. Maybe a visit to the pits would be welcome, and an attempt of an undercut could be the way forward. And this is the third Lemma Racing's car. That's the Lambo, shared by Andrej Lah and Matej Kosic. You have to stay in the pits for 2 minutes so that you don't rush the driver swap. So these are no issues. This is a simple mandatory pit stop being performed by the team. Back to the GT4 fight. Now only three-way as the car number 444 went into the pits. Gigot still managing to stay ahead, defending really hard. Okay, back into the pits. This might be starting to turn into trouble, but back to the GT4 fight. Adam Konopka has just shot out of the pits in his Huracan. Antal Gigot again defending very hard. And this is a problem already. That Lambo is simply not getting going. And by the way, the race leaders have now caught up with the GT4 fight, and the race leader has now entered the pits, which means that Maťo Homola is now taking the first place off the hands of Stoffer Rosina, who has just entered the pit lane. So, undercut or overcut, which one is actually going to be working? And is one of the Mercs in the pits as well? Yes, the car number 21 has entered the pit lane. So it is now the fight between Gigot and the Mercedes of Lemma Racing in the hands of Makarovic and Lantos. Maťo Homola coming through. This is Stoffer Rosina, not going to hand the car over to anyone. He's doing the race on his own. Team boss Gregor Gigot, of course, with the team at the track, but not racing this time out. And the fight for the GT4 lead still raging on. Antal Gigot still defending very hard. We had Hubert Darmetko in the pits in his Porsche. It's Miro Konopka with his mechanics as well. So the ARC Bratislava drivers in the pits in the 2 consecutive laps. Antal Gigot leading the GT4. Stoffer Rosina will be in the pits for some time, of course. He also has to adhere to the lap time, not the lap time, but to the pit stop time. Doesn't matter that he's not really swapping with anyone. Then, of course, all of the races would be done by one person only, if that was the faster way to go. And the GT4 leaders are now entering the pit lane as well. So that's Antal Gigot, who's going to stop at the Trevor Racing's box in just a couple of seconds. There he was, and then the Lemma Racing's Merc. So who's going to prevail? The other Lemma Racing's Mercedes is now coming out of the pits. And where is Rishogonda? Because that is actually for the GT4 victory. That GT4 fight, absolutely amazing in today's race. Stoffel Rosina out. What were the lap times? Actually, Mateusz Lisowski, having taken over from Martin Kaczmarski, has set the fastest lap of the race, 1:35.4. So the PTT Racing's Mercedes definitely getting itself back into the game. This is the current racing, and Maciej Homola should hand over to Viktor Mraz. Is he remaining in the car? No, Viktor Mraz already in, being strapped in. So the driver change performed. And Maciej Homola has done his job, handing the car over now. So interesting fights pretty much all through the field. This is Miro Konopka still fighting Hubert Darmetko, which means that the pit stops haven't decided anything in this battle. Behind them, it is already Josef Zaruba. Mechanic Motorsports Lambo coming into this fight as well, and it's going to remain three-way as it was before the pit stop round. So the current Racing's KTM rejoining the track. Where is it going to come out? This is going to be the fight with Trevor Racing's M6, and the M6 is, well, I was gonna say staying in the lead, but is it? It's come off the road, come back on, and it's actually keeping the race lead. But where are the Polish guys? Because Mateusz Lisowski, having taken over from Kaczmarski, set the fastest lap of the race, and even the laps after that were very fast. 1:35.422 is the fastest lap of the race, the previous one only 4:62, so incredibly close to one another are the lap times of Mateusz Lisowski, who's currently lapping faster than anyone on the track. And is he ahead or behind this couple? There is Adam Konopka, and I believe that PTT has stayed ahead, which means that the Polish team has jumped both Trevor Racing and Current Racing. How about the GT4 fight? This is Rishogonda from Aries Racing. And at least by the lap timing screen, it stayed behind. These are the two Lemma Racing Mercedes cars. Where are they with respect to the BMWs? So we have to wait and see, but the PTT Racing is back in the lead. So Martin Kaczmarski, having made a bad start and dropped from first to third, then handed over to Mateusz Lisowski, who, courtesy of a couple of fastest laps of the race, has seemingly undercut the other two, well, the other GT3 car and the other GTX car. So Stoffel Rosina staying ahead of Viktor Mraz, but the pairing of Kaczmarski-Lisowski back in the race lead. Miro Konopka in fourth. This is Adam, actually. Currently seventh on the road. Trying to catch up with Mechanic Motorsport, lapping faster, but trailing them by more than 11 seconds, so still a lot of work to be done. This is the Karin Racing's GTX. And then the Lemma Racing's Mercedes in the fight in the GT4 class. What happened there? And it is Rishogonda leading. So another successful undercut there, and it's the Aries Racing BMW number 444 up in the lead from Antal Žigo by about 10 seconds. What a great lead now. And Rishogonda, being the more experienced driver, he should be able to bring that home and score a victory in the GT4 class. Lemma Racing's Mercs fighting one another. Behind it's Miro Konopka and Pepa Zaruba coming through on Hubert Darmetko into 5th. Another fight within Lemma. They're now trying to somehow let the ARC Bratislava Lambo through, and it is now through. Darmetko flashing his headlights. Josef Zaruba also past the 2 Mercs. Darmetko stuck a little bit in between them, having to navigate through the entire situation. Not exactly easy, but the Lemma Racing's Merc moving to the side and making way. So the Lemma Racing's guys are back together in their own fight, but they've lost to both BMWs in the GT4 class. Josef Zaruba catching up with Miro Konopka. It's going to be quite an interesting finish to this race. Honestly, it's come alive, and definitely not a boring hour so far. A lot happening, crashes in the beginning, and then very, very interesting fights, sometimes even extremely aggressive, and then beautiful tactics, beautiful strategies, mixing the field right up. We've got PTT Racing leading the race overall, leading the GT3 class from Stoffe Rossina in the colours of Trevor Racing, and another fastest lap by PTT, 1:35.1, enjoying already more than 10 seconds of a lead. Josef Zaruba coming from way back, deciding to actually bail out of that one, as he was probably a little too far back. He's going to line up for another one, that's for sure, and that is for 4th on the road. It's not a class fight, both of them in different categories. But still, definitely they want to enjoy themselves, and the Trofeo Lambo taking fight on the GT3 Lamborghini. That's one of the GT4 Beamers. That, I believe, is Antal Gigot. Pepa Zaruba going really deep into the corner. Losing a little ground, little time behind Konopka. Change in the order between the GT4 Lemma Racing Mercedes cars. Currently it's the car number 21 ahead of the 20. And that's for the podium in the GT4 class. Richard Gonda leading from Antal Gigot currently by 17 seconds already, lapping about 3.5 seconds per lap faster. So Risho Gonda running away with it. With about 18 minutes left on the clock.
Zevzaruba still trying to fight. The ARC Bratislava, a Lamborghini driven by Miro Konopka. Lisowski still lapping in low 135s, some 2 seconds per lap faster than the following Stoffe Rosina, already 13.6 seconds between them. 13.6 seconds between them. Further 18 seconds back is now Viktor Mraz in the GTX KTM, but still leading the GTX class, doing very well indeed. Miro Konopka, there he is in P4 overall from Josef Zaruba. They are 4 tenths away from one another, or were over the line, so that's one of the closest battles currently everywhere on the track. Hubert Darmetko nearly 3 seconds adrift in 6th, with Adam Konopka catching up actually. 1:38.3 for Darmetko on the previous lap, which was his personal best. Adam Konopka did 1:36.3, so 2 seconds per lap faster, which is exactly what's between them right now. So with, but Adam Konopka stopped on the track. Adam Konopka has just stopped on the track, so I was now trying to hype the situation and invite you to watch that, because Adam Konopka was catching up quickly. Josef Zaruba attempting an overtake on Adam's dad, Miro. No change there. Adam has seems to have restarted the car and is going again in the second sector of the track. There's the GT4 race leader Risho Gonda in his BMW. What happened to Adam? Because he was catching up very nicely behind Darmetko in the fight for 6th overall, and then he stopped on the track. We saw some gravel around the car, so was it an issue, a technical issue, or an off-track excursion? We do not exactly know, because actually, yeah, the gravel would suggest a driving mistake, a driver's mistake, and skip through the gravel. But the fact where the car stopped and how, it didn't really look like a mistake led to that. So not really sure what happened there. Stoffe Rosina currently getting into no man's land. He's trailing the leading PTT racing machine by about 16 seconds, but being way further ahead now of the car in racing's GTX KTM. As we've entered the final quarter of the last race of the Saturday's program, the opening day of the 2024 season. That's the car that's third on the road, car in racing's KTM. Well, for some time it looked like there was going to be a fight between these two, the Hurricanes. Now Papa Zaruba dropping back a little bit. Konopka 1:38.0 on the last lap. Zaruba 1:39.4, which has put nearly 2 seconds between them. They were, of course, overtaking some back markers, which didn't really help. Still, this remaining to be one of the closest fights on the track. So interesting strategies, but they've actually calmed the race quite a lot. This is Stoffel Rosina behind him. The GT Sports Technology Porsche, shared by Petr Brecka and Karel Neff. Looks like a GT3 spec, but actually entered in the GTC1 class. And with the shades getting longer and longer, the sun slowly sinking towards the horizon. There's less and less light, as you can notice. The day coming to an end, and we have the last 10 minutes of the action in front of us. Oh, and there's the race leader, actually existing. Haven't really seen much of PTT racing lately, since the pit stop when they've moved into the race lead. They've been dominating the race. Mateusz Lisowski really lapping very quickly, and actually, you know, still very close to his own fastest lap times. So the fastest lap of the race done on lap 19 at 1:35.155. On the previous lap, Lisowski was actually only by 7/1000ths of a second slower than that. So still absolutely on it, still not really holding back, still not really playing it safe, still going for it, enjoying the drive in the GT3 AMG Mercedes. This is the GT4 Merc, about to be overtaken by the GT3 one. Back onto the start and finish. Ooh. Careful guys, careful. We do not need an incident for the end of the race. And Adam Konopka stops once again. Further trouble for the Slovakian youngster as he stops on the side of the road. On the start and finish straight, yellow flag being waved. I don't think we would really hope for a safety car. Yes, there aren't many tight battles anymore in this race, but these are well-earned gaps, and I don't quite think that we would need to spice things up necessarily for the end of the day. 7.5 minutes left on the clock. Still personal bests being performed, and Zaruba coming closer again to Miro Konopka in the fight for fourth. Miro Konopka 1:37.4 on the previous lap. Zaruba 1:36.7 as his personal best. Hubert Darmetko also set his fastest lap of the race, 1:38.2, but slower than the two cars ahead. 1:35.5 done by the race leader, where of course have to respect the yellow flags being waved for the stationary car of Adam Konopka. Is Adam still in the car or has he left? Because the car is still there. Not really sure if Adam is trying some with a restart procedure, and maybe he's just got going again. We did see a slowly moving Lambo through the first corner, and the grass stretch is currently empty. So Adam has probably got going again. .1:35.3, still very close to his, and therefore also the overall fastest lap of the race is Mateusz Lisowski. But this is getting interesting for the last 5 minutes of the race. Pepa Zaruba catching up again with Miro Konopka. The two Lambos close to one another, less than a second away from each other. Actually half a second over the line on the last lap, and Zaruba managed a lap 0.6 of a second quicker than the ARC Bratislava Lamborghini. Let's see what we can do about that. Through the chicane, through the final sector. Cutting the chicane was actually now Miro Konopka. Zaruba having a look, showing himself in Miro's mirrors. Around about 2.5 minutes left. And depending on where the race leader is, We are about 2 laps from home. For the endurance, actually, as the only race on the schedule, it's not just about the race time, it's 60 minutes plus 1 lap. So once the time is up, which is going to happen in the next round, in the next lap, the time's going to tick all the way down to 0, and then we're going to have the final lap ahead of us. Which means that we still have 3 laps to go in this endurance race. Stoffi Rosina holding on to second. That's the GT4 race leader, Risho Gonda, enjoying a lead of his own, well, and by quite some margin. He's currently not on the same lap as Antal Gigo, who's in second. That's the car in Racing KTM, currently 3rd overall and leading the GTX class. Miro Konopka. And Konopka and Zaruba, are they catching up? Yes, they are. They are actually catching up with the 3rd placed man, and quickly so. So, PTT Racing's Lisowski entering the penultimate lap of the race. It's the last one under the timing, and then the +1 lap to finish us off. But we still have a fight on our hands for the 3rd place overall, because Viktor Mraz set 140.2 on the previous lap. Konopka did 137.1, so he was full 3 seconds per lap faster. Zaruba did 137.3. Not much of a development between Konopka and Zaruba, but they are getting closer and closer to the 3rd place overall. This is Rosina. Everything pretty much set in stone, very nearly, about him. And similar situation for the leading Mercedes. So big gap, over half a minute over Rosina. That's Mateusz Lisowski, who's just actually set the fastest lap of the race and finally broke the 1 minute 35 second barrier. He's just done 134.9. Great stuff. And as the fuel tank goes empty, the tyres are still good. Mateusz Lisowski really enjoying a very, very fast stint and driving the Mercedes as fast as he possibly can. And he has just set a new lap record for himself, 134.919. And that must actually be the current lap record of the BalatonPark. And as he's done that, he's immediately slowed down a little bit, 136.0 for the final lap. So we are now on the last one. On the last one, Stoffi Rosina across the line in second. Big gap ahead, big gap behind. How about the fight for 3rd? Miro Konopka is actually already in 3rd overall. So it's all the 3 GT3s on the podium places. Miro Konopka has overtaken Viktor Mraz, who is staying in the GTX lead, of course, but being demoted from that 3rd place overall. Zaruba probably following suit, but we're gonna have to wait for the live timing screen to actually update itself. But I do see on one of the cameras the yellow and red Lambos behind one another, but that's not so important right now anymore, as we are about to welcome BTT Racing. Martin Kaczmarski and Mateusz Lisowski are the victorious combination for the opening endurance race of the 2024 season. It's PTT Racing taking the victory for the season opener here at the BalatonPark. Second place will go to Stoffe Rosina, who is more than half a minute further down the road. There he goes in the Trevor Racing's M6 BMW. Great drive from Stoffe as well. He led the entire opening stint, but then lost to PTT Racing. Still, it's second place for Stoffe Rosina. Great drive by the Slovakian, and we are now waiting for the third placed car overall, which is not this car anymore. It had just been overtaken by the two Lambos, so it's actually P5 on the road, and a little further ahead are the two Lamborghinis, Miro Konopka being the one who's currently third on the road. We've got also our GT4 class winner, Risho Gonda, has just crossed the line to take victory. This is a GTX leader, but a little further ahead are the two Lamborghinis. So it's Miro Konopka who's going to come across the line anytime soon, and it's happening now. Miro Konopka across the line, third overall. Pepa Zaruba in P4. There they are, the two Lambos. This is the GTX class winner, Viktor Mraz, sharing the car with Maťo Homola, but fifth on the road, having lost 2 places towards the end of the race. Never mind that, he was in a different class. Hubert Darmetko coming home in 6th. The pairing of Petr Brecka and Karel Neff in P7th, and actually taking second place in the GTC1 class behind Darmetko. The pairing of Lahen Kosic in 8th and second in the GTC class. Franz Lahmer in his Porsche, 9th on the road, 3rd in the GTC1 class. And then the GT4 winners, Rudo Beño and Risho Gonda. Behind them, Antal Žigo in the Trevor Racing prepared M4. And then the Lemma Racing's Mercs. The pairing of Kastelic and Mladenovic actually coming ahead of their mates, of their teammates Makarovic and Lantos. That means Kastelic and Mladenovic coming home third in the class to top off the podium places. Adam Konopka ending the race in the pits, and presumably so did Kalman Bodiš and Balázs Volontaire. They only did 5 laps with their Silver Sting. János Santa in the Lotus Exige 4 laps, after which he stopped. And then the casualties of the opening lap, Yannick Motorsports GTX KTM, or actually second lap, I believe. Bob Bau in his Porsche and Radek Kolařík in his Stuttgart Special. The cars are now being driven into the Parc Fermé, where the drivers will leave the cars for the post-race scrutineering, and after the necessary checks by the technical marshals, they will be released back to the teams. And with the graphic results of the last race of the day, we're going to end the Saturday's program. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll be back tomorrow for the Sunday part of the program at 9:30 with the second race of the Central European Formula 4. But for today, it is a very warm goodbye.